Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Miguel back again with another video, and better late than never, but I actually got the Pixel Fold in the studio to review. And there are two ways that you can actually look at this. There's a different perspective for buying the Google Pixel Fold. One is to view it as exactly what it is, so a foldable phone from Google. And the second perspective is to look at it as a competitor to every single foldable device that's out there, like the Z Fold 5. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of review this, and I'm gonna talk about whether you should spend this much amount of money on a foldable device and whether this is worth buying and spending that much money. Is this actually any better than the competitors that are out there, or should you go for even the Google Pixel 7 Pro? So looking at the box, we can tell that there's really not a lot of things inside of here. So we'll quickly go ahead and unbox this. We have some paperwork up front here, very minimalistic unboxing, and there's the phone. And we also have the USB-C cable, and we also have a USB-C dongle in case you don't have a USB-C to USB-C cable. Now looking at the phone itself, the first impression is that this is a pretty heavy device. The reason for that is because this is mostly made up of glass and stainless steel. So it is heavy, but it's not heavy in a way that it bothers you. It actually feels pretty premium in the hand. One thing that I immediately noticed is the aspect ratio. So as opposed to something like the Galaxy Z Fold 5 or the Honor Magic VS, this does not have that tall aspect ratio. It actually has a short aspect ratio. I just wish that it was a little bit taller than this. It is a 5.8 inch display on the front. I wish this was maybe expanded up to 6.1 inches, which would be ideal and very similar to what we have on the regular size for the iPhone. On the inside, we also have a 7.6 inch display, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Now, looking at the overall design, as I mentioned, this is a pretty good solid phone when we look at it from a design point of view. Now we have speakers over here, and also on the bottom we have the SIM slot over here. We have the USB-C port. We have a fingerprint scanner, which actually is the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. We have the volume rocker buttons. On the back we can see that we have the cameras as well. Now I have to say that the cameras on the back look smaller, and that is actually a fact. So if you even take something like the Google Pixel 6, the camera hardware is physically smaller. If you put them side by side, you'll be able to tell that the camera hardware on the Pixel 6 Pro is actually bigger than the current one that we have on the Pixel Fold, which is a phone that came out this year as opposed to something that came out last year. Now this is made of glass, so we have Gorilla Glass fixtures on the back and also here on the front. On the inside, obviously because it is a fold device, it is made of plastic. There is no protection whatsoever when it comes to that. The phone is also pretty much thinner as opposed to other foldable devices, and that is thanks to the hinge. The hinge, thankfully, it also folds flat, and I have to mention here that this is a first generation phone, and something like the Galaxy Z Fold 5 being a fifth generation phone, this was the first year that they actually made a phone that had no gap. Now if we look at the display here, this is a 5.8 inch display on the front. This is an OLED display. The only criticism that I have is that it is only full HD resolution, so it's 1080p resolution. Apart from that, we do have Gorilla Glass fixtures on the front over here, and this is a 120 Hz display, which I believe is LTPO. Same thing on the inside. This is also an OLED display. This is a 7.6 inch display diagonally, and this also is 120 Hz. Now the thing about the bezels is that they're pretty thick, as you can see over here, and the reason for that, there's two main reasons for that. One is the hinge and one is the camera. Now the hinge, if you notice, the main mechanism of the hinge is on the top and the bottom. Unlike other phone manufacturers whose hinge mechanism is mostly focused on the middle, this is a little bit different. So they mostly focus on having the hinge mechanism on the top and on the bottom, which is why you're going to have that thick bezel. The second reason is, and this is actually by Google, so they provided us this answer when someone asked them why the bezel was so thick. They mentioned that the front camera that they wanted to use on the inner display was bigger, and they just couldn't fit it inside the screen. And I don't know how true that is. We've seen under-display cameras with foldables with Samsung, and we've seen punch hole design cameras which could have easily fitted inside of here. The other thing that really bothers me is that the bezels are not even. So you can see that on the sides, the bezels are thinner as compared to the top and the bottom, which really bother me. I believe the Galaxy Z Fold, the first generation, actually had thinner bezels than this. So that's one of the main points that really bothers me about the display. If we talk performance, this comes with Google's own Tensor G2 chip. And that is Google's own silicon. Now, the thing about the hardware on this is that you're spending $1,800 on a foldable device. And you're not really getting $1,800 worth of performance and hardware out of it. So, for example, the chip, it only has 777,000 points when it comes to Antutu. This is not even the same level as last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. I mean, I reviewed Xiaomi phones that had better performance than this chip. So you didn't start to question that, should you actually spend the money to buy a phone like this? And I know that benchmarks is not everything, raw performance is not really everything at all times, but you kind of start wondering if you should actually invest in something like this when you're spending $1,800 for a phone. I mean, $1,000 is what you can get a flagship phone for. So you can even get the Google Pixel 7, which has the same chip here at half the price of that. You can get the Samsung S23 Ultra for $800, $900, which is going to have the latest 8 Gen 2 chip, which is going to beat this by nearly 300, 400,000 points, or maybe even more. So that's where I start to question the foldable phones. And then my biggest question is are foldable phones really ready to hit the markets? Because the price is just too high, and then the performance is not really as good as we get. And again, talking about the cameras as well. So if we talk about the camera on the front, this is a 9.5 megapixel camera, and it's not really the best camera, which I was surprised to see, because Google and or Pixel specifically is known to actually have pretty good cameras, and they mostly, their processing power is what actually comes to play. But I still saw a kind of a difference there, and it wasn't really as good as the Google Pixel 6, which again is a phone from last year. Same thing on the inside. We only have an 8 megapixel camera. Nevertheless, this is a better camera, a better quality than the current Galaxy Z Fold 5's inner display camera. But still, it's not really there. When you hear Google Pixel, you immediately think about the cameras and the quality. This is not near to any of that. And also on the back, we have a 48 megapixel camera on the back. We have a telephoto zoom camera as well. But as you can see, I mean, I don't have a Google Pixel 6 right now to compare, but this is physically smaller. The hardware on the cameras are physically smaller as compared to the Pixel 6 Pro, which again is a phone from last year. One more thing that I noticed is that the unfolded display is not really straight. So it's slightly sort of like when you hold a book, it's kind of slanted at a little bit of a degree. Especially when you open it up, you think that it's gonna fold more, that it's gonna open up more, but it actually doesn't. And it feels like you're about to break it if you actually open it more. It's almost invisible to the eye, but if you look at it from like eye level, you can actually tell that it's like this. It's not really flat. Now, talking about the battery, which is my last point over here before I talk about the price. This is a bigger battery than the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. This has a 4,821 milliampere battery, but it's not really as efficient as the battery on the Galaxy Z Fold 5, which is exactly the same battery. I actually noticed that the Galaxy Z Fold 5 was giving me around 10 to 15% more output as compared to the Pixel. And last but not least, talking about the price, this phone is going to cost you $1,800. So $1,800 is a lot of money. I mean, you're going to think twice before wanting to buy this phone. And if you put it into perspective, you can actually buy 3 mid-range phones, or you can buy 2 flagship level phones, or you can just buy 1 Fold. So you have to think about whether you're actually getting your worth of money when you're spending $1,800. I mean, that's a lot of money. Even $1,000 is a lot of money. You can buy actually the iPhone 15 Pro for $1,000. So just saying, that's been my criticism about foldable phones, that you're sacrificing a lot just so you get this, just so that you have a folding display, which is going to break at the slightest force because this is a plastic display on the inside. The only thing that actually makes this phone worth it is the software, which is Google's own Material UI. And it's so customizable and it's so intelligent, and that's what actually makes this phone worth it. But again, if you really wanted that, if you're buying a phone because of the software experience, then just buy a regular Pixel 7 or a 7 Pro if you want to get that Pro experience. So that's pretty much my point on this phone. Apart from that, not really that great. That's my criticism. That's my review on the Google Pixel Fold. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you guys feel the same way about foldable phones, or specifically about the Google Pixel Fold? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.